I'm actually, my spin-off podcast is going to be an ASMR.
And I'm going to talk about me, myself, and my problems here for a little while.
The Rule 34 questions were last week.
That's not a puzzle, it's pushing blocks.
If a wave of dragons are coming to raise my town and burn my crops, that's pretty awful to me directly.
But I want to hear about your other shitty characters.
Of course, invest in a robotic Flava Flav.
This is the Debate This podcast.
Welcome back to Debate This, a podcast where we debate comics and video games and all sorts of fun things, and we are taking you into part 2 of what we have called the Spooktacular Express, where we are talking about the creepypastas. First off, did I get that right? Are we calling it Spooktacular Express?
Yes,
or are we just
yes.
making this up
Express.
different? Perfect.
Thanks for consistently asking what we're calling it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're only through the month at this point, so
We're
fine.
almost over through it.
So I was actually more worried about pronouncing creepypastas correctly because
What were you
going to
say? Creepypastas?
Yeah, creepy,
I don't know, he's messed up
pastas.
swing sets for
I
4
love,
weeks.
I
in a
love
row.
that scary spaghettis.
Creepy pastas. You know, the really thin pancakes.
They're French.
So I hesitate to say creepypasta correctly because I am the one that did not know what creepypastas were coming into this. And so to prepare for this episode, I did some research. And boy, howdy, the world that you three have introduced me to is terrible.
Yeah, how have you slept this last week, Todd?
Not well, I gotta tell you. So before I tell you what creepypasta we're going to talk about briefly, I watched the YouTube coverage of this creepypasta at work while I was on my lunch break, like eating my Euro salad. And I'm just like, oh yeah, this is going to be fine. Like, how terrible can this be? Fucking horrifying is the answer for those at home. And so let's go ahead and get into it. So when I did a search for what are the scariest creepypastas, the one that kept popping up was called Petscop. And so if you are not familiar with Petscop, I'm going to try to get you caught up on part of the story. The reason why I say part of the story is that Petscop is an evolving story that keeps debuting more and more and more episodes on YouTube. The most recent of which is the 15th episode of a Let's Play that came out in July of this year.
Okay.
So we're only going to scratch the surface, but I'm going to kind of settle an understanding of how terrible this is. So Petscop debuted in, it was, April of last year. And so specifically, March 12th, 2017.
Can I just say, that's kind of crazy that it's so recent. I just assumed that this stuff was more or less done.
Yeah, so I guess this isn't, so when I think about creepypastas, I think about like green text. You're reading it on 4chan. So this is not that. This is more just like scary video game shit at this point. So
I mean, like I said last episode, Slender Man was originally a creepypasta, and I think he only showed up 2011, 2012 around then, which is still much later than I associate most creepypastas with. So,
and which reminds me, now that we're 5 minutes in, if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, go ahead and check it out. So this is going to be continuing 3 of our 4 creepypasta stories. So in the last episode, we shared with you Ben Drowned, which is a Majora's Mask and story, and Lavender Town, which is a urban tale from the original Pokemon game.
Guys, we're so good at podcasting.
Yeah. Which actually talks about legit Pokemon death, because apparently that was a thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to go back and fill in one more thing from the last episode, Kyle, it was Hostel, the movie that was based on a creepypasta that came out last year.
Oh.
Was based on Red Rooms, a creepypasta that I have not read.
Well,
there you go, everyone.
So
that'll do it for Debate This.
So Petscop starts with the origin of it is literally a video, like a Let's Play that shows up on YouTube. So I personally love Let's Plays because for me, I use those as kind of a test drive for video games I'm interested in, or a video game that I'm interested in, but I have no intention of buying. But it starts as this upload of a Let's Play where this person claims that they found this old PlayStation game. And they're like, hey, I'm going to play this old PlayStation game that I found. And you don't ever get the person's name. But when they create the file, they name it Paul. And so everyone has said, this character is Paul. And so kind of the way that this goes is it's a lost and unfinished 1997 PlayStation video game called Petscop. And like, if you watch the video, it is most certainly 1997 PlayStation graphics. Like it all
blocky
perfectly
AF.
tracks. Yeah. Like if you watch it, you're just like, this is not weird at all.
Polygons for days.
Yeah. And so the whole concept is that you play this character who's kind of like weird looking to begin with. He's got like this yellow face and it looks real strange and it's like weird and it's kind of like the character kind of looks like Parappa the Rapper, only like really, really, really like, pixelated. And so anyway, the whole concept of the game is that you are trying to collect pets. You're collecting animals. It's very Pokemon-esque by doing things. So, I mean, there's like a rain cloud one that you catch by putting a bucket underneath it, and it's pretty harmless. And so as Paul is playing this game, he says or tells you that he ends up putting in a code that he found with the game, the copy of the game. And it's basically some iteration of like the Konami code, like the up, down, left, right, BA, start. And so when he does that, it takes him to what's called the new maker plane, which is like this new level below this like very, very bright and colorful part of the game where it's all like dark and dingy. And once you're down there, you're no longer trying to collect pets, but it becomes very clear that you are collecting kids.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And
wait,
so
you
it
said
definitely
kids, not kittens, right?
Kids, not kittens.
Okay, you're
That was a
collecting
sharper
kids.
left turn than I was anticipating
We're
this early on
we're
in
just
the
there.
story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it takes the quickest of turns.
And mind you, like this is all the stuff that happens in the first YouTube video that comes out. There are 15 of these now. I only dove into like the first 3 before I didn't even realize that there were 15 until I did even more research. And so
How long is each video roughly?
oh, I couldn't even tell you at this point.
I've gone mad and lost all sense of time.
Yeah, and I'm afraid to look at this point to know how much people have sunk into this. And so and the reason why I say all that is because in preparation to do some of this, like reporting back to you all, there is a Reddit thread, there is a document that is 96 pages long where people are just picking apart specifics of this. And so anyway, at this point, like this player, Paul, is in the new maker plane, which is really, really important because you're still doing puzzles, but it shifts because it's very, very dark and there starts to be numerous references to child abuse. Like really sad kids and like you're abandoning kids and all sorts of stuff. So before I get
one point of order.
Yeah, please
question.
stop me as much as you can.
What are you're collecting children? Is it just like go and like walk over top of them and then it's like an inventory thing, or
Yeah, there are still puzzles and stuff, but yeah, I mean you're basically just going and gathering kids and then you're like depositing them into a bank, like you're abandoning these kids. And so before I get to like the really dark part of it, and obviously this is still just episode 1.
The really dark part of a story already involving kidnapping abused children.
Yeah.
It's gonna get worse. So just for reference, so Kotaku did a like report over this and said that, quote, if this is an internet story / game, then I'm in awe over how elaborate it is. And even further, there was an article in the New Yorker in August of last year where it was crowned the king of the creepypasta. So like the fact that the New Yorker even reported like this is some fucked up shit. And so talking about how elaborate it is, like episodes later, when he's playing it, the stuff that he does completely mimics what he was doing in earlier episodes. And it goes into like an even further story where he says this was his mother's game and he found it in his mother's house and all this other weird shit. And like even the player starts making commentary to like, well, I feel like this game's trying to talk to me, but I don't believe that it's haunted, blah, blah, blah. So to get to like the earliest, weirdest, worst parts about it, when it talks about going to the New Maker plane, so right, the internet has like, they've gone all in and they're trying to figure out what is going on with this. So New Maker is alleged to refer to this girl whose last name was Newmaker, who is a real person. This is a real thing that happened. That she was removed from her negligent parents by social services and relocated to new families, blah, blah, blah. So she had been adopted by another woman, a couple, I believe, and had not been connecting with that family well. To the point that it was reported that she was playing with matches and killing goldfish. Like this girl, obviously, like some pretty serious mental stuff
was going on.
Yeah. So like super serious, and so and again, like New Maker plane, abandoned, mistreated children. So the adopted parents of this girl took her to a psychiatrist and paid thousands and thousands of dollars for this 2-week intensive like attachment therapy thing. And this is 100% real. Like this shit happened.
Yeah.
And treated in to give a shout out to North Carolina for the terrible state that it is. It gets worse. So it ends up like this girl died. Like this young girl died. And the way that she died is that the psychiatrist, in an attempt to try and get her to connect to her adopted mother, they put her through what was called a rebirthing session. And so they wrapped her in a big blanket and had like the foster parents and the psychiatrists, there's 4 people now in the room, basically cover her in this sheet and then like smother her with their body weight. So some like 600 pounds.
I've heard of it. I've heard of this.
This is a real
technique.
thing.
Yeah.
This is
super fucked up.
It's a super real thing. And so anyway, like they're just like smothering this girl in this what is effectively an artificial womb, trying to get her to attach to this like mother. Like she's going to crawl out of this like false birthing canal, and it's suddenly
it's like a hard reset. It's really weird.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be. I mean,
yes.
Well, and so mind you, I'm trying to figure out how young she was. The reports that I had read, she definitely weighed under 100 pounds at the time. So like she's a small child. And so
getting
they
wrapped
are using
in heavy blankets and laid on by adults.
Yeah, like they're using like all their weight and their hands and their feet to push on her, while she attempts to free herself. And so, like there's some direct quotes from this, and it's pretty freaking dark. And so she like can't get out of this like artificial womb, and the psychiatrist, mind you, is saying things like, "You want to die? Okay, then just die in there. Like don't get yourself out. Be a quitter." Ugh. So 20 minutes into this,
they paid for this. Like they paid a lot of money for
thousands of dollars. So not to say like the Wikipedia article is the end all be all. I'm sure there's like actual articles about this, but they said $7,000 to do this.
That's not surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. And so 20 minutes into the session, that young girl had like vomited and like soiled herself, like trying to get out and couldn't get out. So 40 minutes in, still doing this. Yeah. The psychiatrist is still like harassing her and saying things like, the baby doesn't want to live. She's a quitter. And like this girl can't get out. And I think the worst part about the transcript, because like it's a published transcript, the psychiatrist says, quitter, 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 quit, quit, quit. She's a quitter. And like this child can't get out, obviously. And so at that point, the psychiatrist asks the like adoptive parents to leave, to quote, not to pick up on the girl's sorrow. And so it basically gets to the point where the psychiatrist, just her and that girl in the room, and like the girl stops moving. And so she unwraps her from this like false flannel womb, and like she's motionless, like her fingertips are blue and her lips are blue and she's not breathing. She's obviously like at best unconscious, but definitely dead.
Right.
And so at that point, like, and even then at that point when they unwrap her, the psychiatrist says, "Oh, there she is, sleeping in her vomit." Like, just some twisted shit.
What the hell?
Yeah, and so then she ends up calling like the parents back in, and they're like, "Oh, we need to perform CPR," and they call 911, and the paramedics arrive, and like obviously like she's dead. She's announced dead, and she's announced brain dead the next day, and so that entire session of what they did to her lasted 70 minutes, and so. Plus like the 10 hours of sessions that led up to that. But like the big thing is that's all the shit they unpacked from like the first episode.
Good Lord.
Of this.
And there's 15 more of these.
15.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm sure it's all sunshine and rainbows in those other 14 videos.
And it's so intricate. And in some of the other, so admittedly, I obviously did not watch all 15. We can come back to me and I can tell you how long it takes to watch all 15 in a later podcast. But
and how sad you are and
how
inside you
might
feel
need some
afterwards.
therapy yourself afterwards.
But one of the things I had watched like a quick review of like the first 5 or 6, and again it starts drawing more comparison to other like killers and stories of death and things like that. So what it comes to be is that you can definitely make the assumption this is. The question is it a let's play of someone actually playing it, or is it a recording of what's going on? And what are the deeper ties to it? And like I said, that last episode just came out in, this past summer. So, I mean, who's to say if they're going to, they may still put out more, because there's just all sorts of shit about like these kids you're finding and, quote, collecting and, their status and how you can abandon them.
So was the girl we just talked about, was this supposedly the all information found in the game?
So the biggest thing is that so obviously they call it the Newmaker plane, and like Newmaker is that girl's last name.
Okay.
So that is a clear and direct connection. Also, I want to say there are pieces of it that talk about like being born and being abandoned and death and things like that. So that's how they've kind of made those connections. Like I said, I think we try and do a good amount of research before we talk about things, at least enough to like sound confident in what we're talking about. There is a shared Google Doc that I like found, and there's also a subreddit for this. But that Google Doc, like I said, has 95 pages of notes.
That's insane.
Of just where people are pulling apart more about, well, this character could mean this and this character could mean this. But yeah, there's definitely at least loose connections to serial killers and other things like that. So what it sounds like is that this is a video series that is at least tied to like death of children. And it's horrifying when you start, like, first off, just watching it makes you feel uneasy. But then like reading about the connections, I think, is where it gets really dark.
So let me ask you this. So the guys that play it, so it's like, I assume that the people that are playing are in on it in some fashion, but
so it's one guy.
It's just one guy. Okay.
And like, he doesn't even really talk until, at one point, I'm pretty sure maybe it's the first time he talks, is he says like, "Oh, I feel like this game's trying to tell me something, but it's not haunted." Like he makes some sort of like, response there. And when it initially came out, like the first video came out in March of last year, and then in April they released, I'm looking at the list of them, 6 more episodes, and then a couple in May, and then a lapse until December, and then then January of this year, and then March, and then a couple in July. And so each one of them have different things. And I think the craziest thing, well, not the craziest thing, because all of it's the craziest thing, is that at one point they show there's a clip where he's, walking along this pathway. And again, the internet detectives have pulled it together where if you put that clip next to an earlier clip from like 8 months earlier, they're identical. Like what he's doing. Wow. What he's doing in this one, in this room, has a perfect cadence and matches what he was doing 8 months ago in a different room, in a different section.
Oh,
and
wow.
of course, there's all sorts of, theories over that. But I guess at the end of it, to me, this ends up being a story about like some really fucked up shit. Like that's very, very real, that certainly happened, and someone put together a game. And I think what we, the viewer, have to decide is either, is this a game that like they created and they're playing and they're showing it, or did they program it to like run us through these things that make us find out about these terrible things in real life?
It sounds like, as you describe it, it sounds like it's basically a museum of just terrible stories.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty fair. And like I said, I like admittedly have only scratched the surface on this. There is, and I'll pull up the Reddit right now.
It sounds like the most elaborate serial killer confession tape.
Yeah, well, there's still
heard. Like,
there are people still. I mean, a mod post on the subreddit happened a month ago.
Yeah.
People are still trying to pull out more information and connections and like just shit.
Guys, I have some bad news. I think I'm going to lose myself in this.
It's a dark rabbit hole to go down, and I mean, it's one thing. So let's lighten it a bit.
We were joking about spin-off podcasts.
Well,
this is
it's
Andrew's.
one thing to get lost in the Halo lore, because like that's an endless tunnel that you'll not come out of. You'll end up being the weird friend that no one wants to hang out with anymore, because you're talking about what the rings actually mean, the halos actually exist for, and they're a metaphor for, power.
To give you guys reference at home, Andrew is the guy who's read all the Witcher books.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
That's the level of deep
when anyone
dive.
talks about The Witcher 3, my response is, well, actually.
Yeah. that's fair.
Triss is not a real love interest. She's much younger than him. There was never any real connection there. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
So this is the level to which we're about to lose Andrew to these stories.
The Spooktacular Express is leaving me off of this exit.
I did go and look on the YouTube page. It will take you just under 3 hours to watch all of the Petscop playthrough that's currently uploaded. If anyone is looking for a good place to start, because I think about as much about Petscop lore as Todd knows now going into this. I have not dove as deep as possible, but I know some things, and one of the easiest places to start is with the Game Theorist video.
Yes.
For anyone who is not aware of the Game Theorist channel, it's just a YouTube channel that does game theories. Who would have thought? But check out their Petscop videos if you're interested in starting down that rabbit hole.
Well, and so in preparation for this, actually, Matt had referenced and suggested doing exactly that, and so I did. There were 2 videos that I watched, like their intro one that they had done, and then they revisited it like 6 months later, because obviously this shit is bananas. And so I had watched those 2, and even, again, that only addressed the first, half of the videos that have come out. So obviously this is a whole thing, and I will admit to anyone who is listening to this podcast, after I got through all the heavy shit that came out of the first episode, I was like, I don't know if I can go back for more. Like,
if you felt like you wanted to hold on to your remaining innocence.
Yeah, like I came up for air and was like, this shit is too heavy for 11:30 a.m. in the basement of my building where I am eating my, like I said, my Euro salad and trying to like have a nice green tea with it. It was too much for me. And like, I don't know, maybe that's the point though, that if we're talking about creepy video game lore, if it's something that makes you like sit back and say like, whoa, like that's something, then like they've done what they aim to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So on that note, I'm going to take the debate this ball and I'm going to chest pass it over to Matt.
I would first like to get take a debate this shower and wash myself and debate this bleach.
Get on the debate this slip and slide. Our branding is on point right now.
Go play with some debate this puppies. Okay, Matt, go ahead. That was the last one.
Well, after all of that weird branding aside, I will consider Todd's chest pass received to my chest. And I'm gonna
to your debate this chest. Okay,
to my debate this chest. I am gonna jump in on what is actually the first creepypasta that I ever read. So, as I've talked about in other episodes, I really enjoy horror. but I don't like surprise horror. I'm not a big fan of the jump scare, unless it is tastefully used. What I really like is the macabre and things that are just kind of weird and what the kids call spoopy, which is why I found a lot of joy in Creepypasta, because it is, you can't cause a jump scare in a text post. I'm sure you can, and if you can, don't at me. I don't need that in my life. But
reading is definitely my favorite way to consume horror.
Yeah, because I definitely watched that comic that with the girl. I don't know what it's called, but the horror comic that you scroll down and then there's a jump scare.
And she clicks.
Yeah.
Is it that one?
Yeah, it's that one. It's
oh,
awful.
Man, I thought about that earlier this week.
Yeah, so that's the closest to text post jump scare I ever want to be. Because I threw my laptop when that happened the first time. But anyway, Pokemon Black was the first creepypasta that I ever read. And for those who are familiar with creepypasta, you may know of Pokemon Black as one of the many Pokemon creepypastas that is out there.
The first entry in Gen 5.
Yeah, exactly. And
less than stellar one.
Like the game Pokemon Black, the Pokemon Black creepypasta is less than stellar. It was originally surfaced on the internet sometime between 2009 and 2010. The original author is unknown as far as I'm aware. Not the Pokemon, they just don't know who wrote it. So, yeah, thanks. I like this one a lot, though, because it just opens up the possibility of creepypastas, and is written in an interesting way. It also has maybe the worst ending to anything ever, besides...
Except for the Russian sleep experiment.
And the Nicolas Cage movie Knowing. So, that being said, I am going to tell this creepypasta as if I am the first person. One, because it's easier, and two, because I think it makes campfire stories scarier if you tell it in the first person. So, I'm going to jump in now on The Tale of Pokemon Black, which is a cartridge that I found at a game store. Just like you find most cartridges, and there are so many Pokemon bootlegs out there. There's Chaos Black and Jade and Pokemon Diamond and all of these.
That's a real one.
Yeah, I was going to say.
For the sake of the story, you found this in 2009. Pokemon Black didn't come out until 2000. Like the official Nintendo title didn't come out until 2011.
Yeah, I think so.
Before I started this sentence.
This is back when they were still just doing colors and not precious metals.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it's funny, the creepypasta itself actually references Pokemon Diamond is not a real thing as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So, in the days of live with me in the mind space of Gen 2.
A much simpler time.
Yeah. So, I found this cartridge, and it looked like any other Game Boy Color cartridge. Just all black. And it just said Pokemon on it in grayscale. It didn't have a title or anything like that. Typical bootleg, ROM hack, something worth throwing in a Game Boy. So I plugged it in, and pretty much immediately realized that it's just Pokemon Red, whether in a spray-painted or discolored cartridge. Everything looks the same, all is well. Select the new game, jump in. The only difference is that it said black version under the Pokemon logo as opposed to red version. So you start the new game, you get to Professor Oak's office. Same story as always. Same speech, nothing different. Choose your starter Pokemon. Except this time there are 4 options, and one of them isn't Pikachu. It's Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and a Pokemon named Ghost.
Ooh, I like Ghost.
Ghost.
I want Ghost.
Ghost doesn't look like a Pokemon. Ghost sprite is actually the same sprite of the ghost you encounter in Lavender Town. So it just looks like an NPC sprite, nothing that's ever really been playable before. So whether you select Ghost or not as your starter, it will be in your party when you leave Professor Oak's office.
Good.
Yeah. And I played this game a bunch, and every time I played it, whether I selected Ghost or not, I would leave and there he was. And no matter how hard I tried to get Ghost out of my party, he was always there. He was always the 6th slot. No matter what I did, Ghost was in my party. So Ghost has one move, and it's the only move that he knows when you get him from Professor Oak, and it's the only move that it knows throughout the game. It doesn't ever learn anything through leveling up. It doesn't ever gain any HMs. You can't teach it anything. It's just Curse, which is weird because Curse wasn't in Red and Blue. It wasn't a first-gen move.
It wasn't?
No.
I only played one gen and it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
I must be imprinting the remakes. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
'Cause it was like Nightshade. That was the big Ghost move.
Exactly, yeah. So, all Ghost knows was Curse, which is weird. But, obviously, the first time I played this game, I picked Ghost as the starter because that's the one thing that's different. And I'm not going to buy a bootleg ROM just to play the same game that I could play on my Pokemon Blue version that I sunk like 800 hours into.
For sure.
So, I picked Ghost as my starter and started off into the world. Pallet Town looked the same, all the same NPCs, all the same interactions, nothing different. I walk off into the field to start my grand adventure and bump into a Caterpie.
No, they're my favorite.
Yeah.
I liked Caterpie a lot. I hope nothing bad happens.
Well, Todd, I do hate to disappoint you.
Oh.
But not really.
So, same battle startup. Nothing's weird. Nothing's different. Caterpie is like a level 3. I don't know. I don't remember the first time I played this game, but I go first. I use the only move I have, which is Curse. The screen cuts to black.
Good.
Oh, good.
Oh,
And
But Caterpie is okay, right?
I'm sure he's okay.
when the screen cuts to black, you hear the cry of the defending Pokemon, the digital, audio cue that all the Pokemon have. But it's not the same. And I had to check my Pokemon Blue cartridge just to make sure. I wasn't 100% certain. I was like, maybe I just don't remember what Caterpie sounds like. I mean, it's possible. But it was weird. It was different. It was distorted and like a significantly lower pitch than normal. Like all of a sudden Caterpie sounded kind of like Arcanine, and then Arcanine sounded like Satan. So
That's the natural progression of things.
yeah. So I was a little alarmed at this weird scream, but then the screen reappeared and Caterpie was just gone. No effect on HP, no option to capture, gone. I was like, well, I suppose that's cool and breaks the game and is an easy way to get to the Elite Four. So I continued on, and I mean, you can buy Pokeballs, and all the Poke Centers work the same, and all the stores work the same. So as you were going, you would capture the couple Pokemon, and you would capture the couple Pokemon that you could capture without attacking, and could train them just as well. And so eventually I had a Weedle that could fight other Pokemon, and I captured some Pokemon along the way, but anytime the going got tough, I would just pull Ghost out onto the field, use Curse, and walk away like nothing happened.
Weedle is the poor man's Caterpie. I just want to throw that out there.
I don't know if I agree with you, but
Debate this.
in this case, I hate you. I hate that you just used the title of our podcast against me.
Roll credits.
So, the going got tough the first time for me. The first random encounter that I had with another trainer. I think it was, I don't know, probably a bug catcher on Route 1. Kyle
Youngster
knows the
Joey.
map routes better than me. Yeah, whoever it was wanted to battle. And I...
So it'd be a bug catcher. Bug catchers didn't have names in Pokemon Red.
Yeah.
But
Thank you, Kylopedia.
Let me push my glasses up a little higher, you
Yeah.
fucking nerds.
So...
my pocket protector.
I sent Ghost out and used Curse, and his Caterpie fainted or the screen went to black and it screamed creepily, and then the screen reappeared. And I noticed something that was weird. Instead of the Pokemon just fainting and disappearing, or instead of the Pokemon disappearing altogether, the Pokemon was gone, but the Pokeball was missing from the bug catcher's inventory slot. You can see how many Pokemon your opponent has, and it wasn't a black Pokeball like a Pokemon had fainted, it was just gone. And then I had the option to battle again, which was weird because the bug catcher was out of Pokemon. And so I thought it was just a game glitch, like a weird ROM hack, and so I just ran away, because I was like, I'm done with the battle. Whatever, it's fine. Must just be an early glitch and a bad ROM, and I moved on. So I moved on, and encountered some more Pokemon, caught some Pokemon, encountered some more trainers, fought a couple more trainers, but the same thing kept happening. I would curse their Pokemon, screen would fade to black, distorted scream, Pokeball would be gone from their inventory slot. And then after that happened 3 or 4 times, I got curious, well, if I keep getting this battle command, when all I have left to fight is the trainer, what do I do? What happens?
Oh no.
So I cursed the trainer, because that was the only option that I had. Ghost was on the field, and the only thing he could do was curse, so I just hit the button to see what would happen. The screen cut to black. Nothing really happened. And then it just popped back to the overworld, but the sprite of the trainer that I just battled was gone. And I didn't really know what happened or where it went. It just reacted like all the other Pokemon did. It just disappeared. So that was weird, but convenient. I mean, there's always the cave situations where you keep having to battle the same person after you exit one area and then re-enter that area, because inevitably you're lost unless you have the old guidebook and escape ropes.
I'm getting a real high murder vibe here.
Yeah, getting real murdery.
Like Timmy fucking died, right? Like there's no other way out of this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I move along. And
As one would do.
yeah, right? Because I'm playing the game, so I'm forward progress. And the only downfall that Curse seemed to have, the only weakness that it seemed to have, was that it wouldn't affect other ghost Pokemon. If I was up against a ghost Pokemon, I would have to throw something else out to fight it or run away. And anytime a Pokemon was faster than Ghost, my Ghost was, it would never attack. It would always just say that that Pokemon is too scared to move. Again, weird, but convenient to someone who is trying to get through a game. So I make my way through the game, and I'm, blipping trainers in and out of the overworld as well, until I run into my rival for the first time. And I try to curse my rival. And I get the same reaction. The screen cuts to black. I'm back in the overworld, out of the battle. But my rival isn't gone. He's still there. We have the same dialogue as we would in any other game. And I move on. And so I don't think anything of it. I'm like, this must just be some weird part of the ROM. Some hack gone wrong. Probably wasn't the focus of the game. So I keep going along in my journey. Taking out gym leaders, taking out high-level Pokemon, taking out anything that stands in my way by cursing them. And as the time goes on, I get to the end of the game, I get to the Elite Four, I defeat the Elite Four, and then you run into your rival for a last time, and I cursed my rival, because it's my rival. And this time he did disappear. And he was just gone. And it was strange. But I beat the game, and the credits rolled, and I was like, well, alright, okay, great. View the Hall of Fame, and it was basically just like Ghost and the couple Pokemon I had captured to use Cut, Fly, and Surf, and all of the HMs along the way. And then a box appeared. that I had never seen in a Pokemon game before. And the box just said, "Many years later." And I reappeared in Lavender Town. But it wasn't the same sprite that I had been using. It was an old man. An old man that I had never seen before, but it was just an old man standing in the middle of Lavender Town looking at tombstones. And as I was standing there, I kind of realized, I think that's me. I mean, I'm controlling the same character, or I'm controlling the character, so I assume it's the same person, whoever that person may be. But I only moved at like half the normal speed, and I didn't have any Pokemon in my inventory. Not even Ghost, who, after an entire game's worth of trying to put into the PC system, or let faint, or trade away, and no matter what I did, this Ghost was always in my inventory until now that the game is restarted, and I had nothing. And I left Lavender Town, curious if that would trigger something else. And as I was moving along, I realized that there was no one in this game. It was just me. No NPCs, no wild Pokemon, no gym leaders, no nothing. Just me. Walking aimlessly and running into these issues. Trees I couldn't cut because I didn't have anyone to cut them down, and areas I couldn't reach because I didn't have Pokemon capable of using HMs. And then I found myself in Diglett's Cave, and after I meandered my way through Diglett's Cave for a while, I came up to the path that allows you to go back to Pallet Town. And the tree or the bush or whatever that you typically have to cut down to get back to Pallet Town wasn't there. So I meandered back home and ended up in Pallet Town, the same place that I had started the game, and went into my house and walked onto the exact pixel that your character starts the game on. And as soon as I did, the screen cut to black, and I was a little surprised. I hadn't had any other interaction like this before, at least not since I had respawned as the old man. And as soon as that happened, a Caterpie sprite appeared in front of me. And it wasn't like I was battling it or anything. I didn't have a battle command. It was just a Caterpie.
I'm really glad Caterpie survived.
Yeah, no, he's fine, and I called that, and
Yeah.
I'm happy.
So as Caterpie started to, like, the sprite started to fade out, in popped a Weedle. And after the Weedle started to fade out, in popped another Pokemon that I battled along the way. Again, it was a long time ago since I played this
It's
game.
the greatest hits of all the souls of the Pokemon you killed.
I'm beginning to think they didn't survive.
No.
Oh, you're doing that thing from Harry Potter where your wand shows you everyone you killed
So
because you're a terrible monster.
after 4 or 5 Pokemon have popped up, some trainers start to appear. And it's all the trainers that I've cursed along the way.
The monster was inside you the whole time.
And now I've realized, just as you just said, it's not only the Pokemon that I've cursed, but it's everything that I've cursed in this game. Reappearing. One after another, after another, after another. Until finally my rival popped up. And the whole time that this is going on, the Lavender Town music was playing in the background. And as the music was playing, it was getting louder and louder and louder and louder. But it was also slowly decreasing in pitch. And to the point when my rival appeared, it was really no more than like a demonic rumble that I could feel vibrating my Game Boy. And as soon as it got to the point, it was like, this is loud and uncomfortable, and I don't know what to do. It cut to black. And as soon as it cut to black, I put my Game Boy down because I was like, is it over? Is it done? What happened? And then that screen wipe came up and the battle screen appeared. And there was my trainer as an old man standing in front of me. And across from me was Ghost. And I didn't have any Pokemon. I didn't have anything that I could do. But the text popped up that Ghost wanted to fight. I had no items. I couldn't run. I couldn't escape. The only option was to try and fight back. But I was a human. I had no attacks. So when you open the fight menu, the only option you had was something called struggle. And every time you used struggle, it didn't affect Ghost, but your HP, or my HP, started to dwindle slowly.
This is a real move in the game, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the move that shows up when you run out of the PP for all your other moves.
So I struggled, and every time I would struggle, Ghost wouldn't attack. It would just pop up as some ellipses until it got to the point that my HP was so critical that one more struggle and I would faint. Finally, this time, Ghost used Curse. And there was a screech, and the screen cut to black. And nothing else happened. And I waited. I pressed every button, every combination that I knew, tried to walk my way through the command menu when all I could see was a black screen. And the only thing left for me to do was to turn off the Game Boy. I turned it back on. The only option I had was New Game. My save file was gone. There was no recollection of what had just happened. And so I started over. Thought to myself, now the second time I was playing the game, maybe if I don't pick Ghost, it won't happen. And I picked Squirtle, who's my starter always, and jumped in, and there was Ghost in my team, even though I hadn't picked him. And so I thought, well, I'll just play this game the old-fashioned way. I won't use Ghost. I'll run with a 5-man team. It'll be fine. I'll grind and have a level 99 Blastoise and kick ass, just like I did the first time I played Pokemon Blue.
That is exactly how I played the first time.
And then I got to the end of the game for the same sequence. The old man was still looking at tombstones. I made my way back to Pallet Town, stood on the pixel that I started on, screen cuts to black, and there are no Pokemon for me to see. It just cuts to the battle with Ghost. I struggle, Ghost curse me, game cuts to black, save file is gone. I tried and tried and tried to make any other outcome. And no matter what I did, it always ended on a black screen and there was nothing I could do. I could never get back to the save game, I could never explore any further. It was just over. And that's where the story ends. You know, there's no big takeaway. No one died IRL. But it really made me think about the inevitability of death, about the pointlessness of it. Perhaps I was simply trying to morbidly inject death and darkness into a children's game, or whoever made the ROM hack was. But regardless, this game has made me think, and it made me cry. And that's the way that the creepypasta ends, which is weird and hokey, and I hate it. But I really felt like I needed to tie it all together.
Would you say that you cry every time?
RT if you cried.
The lesson learned here is you never cut corners in grinding. You cannot skip anything in an RPG. You've got to grind all them levels, baby.
See, and I would argue, because when I played Pokemon, I immediately did the cheat where I started multiplying rare candies, and I took my level 99 Blastoise and I crushed
that is
Elite
because
Four.
you are a monster who has zero pride.
I definitely took the middle road and only mained my Squirtle until I only mained my Wartortle until I only mained my Blastoise. And I earned my level 99 Blastoise the old-fashioned way.
I did. That's how I did it with my Charizard.
I mained a
superior
Charizard
choice.
You can just call me Todd Corner Cutting Thomas, because when I was in 5th grade, I had no shame.
So that's
I didn't give a fuck about type advantages. I just power leveled my way through everything.
Why use strategy when you can use brute force?
That's right.
But yeah, that's the end of my creepypasta.
That's
and
good.
It has a lot of mixed reviews on the internet because there is no like somebody died.
Ending.
You know, there's no, and then the end is just disgustingly hokey. And it made me cry is the worst. the worst. I hate it.
I feel like that was the kid or whoever wrote this was like, oh god, and I'm done.
Yep.
Ending things is hard. That's why every Marvel movie review has third act problems in the review. Like,
I thought you were going to say that's why every Marvel movie just leads to the next one.
Yeah.
I get it, but at the same time, that is a dreadful ending.
Yeah. So I really like that creepypasta just because it is creepy and weird and macabre, but in no way is it like nightmare inducing. So for me as a kid, it was a really good intro into the world of creepypasta. Because, like, if you get hit with the Russian sleep experiment day one, or like the Black Farm, which is my other favorite creepypasta, or even the original Slender creepypasta is really horrifying. If you read some of those as your first creepypasta, you'll probably never go back unless you're weird and twisted. Or made it the whole way to the end of the Russian sleep experiment and felt disappointed, like Kyle obviously did. But I don't know. I just thought it was a cool intro into the world of spooky text posts as, I don't know, like, what's weird is it says that this came on the internet in like 2010, and I feel like I read it much younger than that.
I was going to say, I think
it's way early, yeah.
I think it's a little earlier than that.
Yeah. That I was
07, 08, maybe.
It screams of like those like mid-aughts message board posts, like something awful forums and like stuff like that.
So maybe it appeared on the official Creepypasta wiki, because I think that's where Creepypasta lives now in 2010, but I'm sure it floated the internet in 2006, 2007. Because I remember still using my Game Boy predominantly, or at least my Game Boy Advance predominantly when I read that for the first time. But the ROM does exist. You can find the ROM online and play Pokemon Black, the creepypasta version, as opposed to Pokemon Black, the underwhelming Gen 5 version.
Well, there you go, Corner Cutting Todd. You can push your way through Pokemon Red and then be faced with the inevitability of death.
I don't want to do that, I think. When given the option of either doing that or not doing that, I think I'm going to go with not doing that.
You think that? You're going to do it.
I don't.
You're probably going to do
it. It might not be tonight. It might not be this month even. But somewhere down the line, you're gonna be bored, and it's gonna.
You know what I want to do? Feel sad. I want to
check out Pokemon Black. Remember that podcast I did?
I want to inject equal parts nostalgia and sadness into my life because I don't have enough of that every day. So here we go.
Ask me in 3 hours after I'm 12 videos deep through Petscop.
Oh god,
yeah, right.
It's gonna be.
It's gonna happen, and I'm not gonna sleep, and I have to get on a plane at 6 a.m. tomorrow. So
rough.
This is gonna be my life.
Oh, that's perfect.
Download all the videos, watch them in the air.
where I have no quarter, I can't leave.
I think that's probably a good enough place to end all of this. Then.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And is this the official ending episode of the Spooktacular Express? Is this where the Spooktacular Express comes to station?
We have one more. Actually, no. This will post after.
Yeah. So this is the end of the Spooktacular Express.
Spooktacular Express.
Last call.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're definitely going to do this again. This was really fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed this.
I feel weird.
Well, that's
let that just stand out as it is. I mean, don't feel good.
We never traditionally feel good after recording episodes, so this really isn't.
I didn't come to make this podcast to feel good about myself.
No.
That's why I made it with you three.
Well, in that case, I think I'll go.
Thanks, Todd.
I'll go ahead and take the lead on wrapping us up here. That ends the Spooktacular Express. Thanks for coming with us on this spooky journey. If my memory is correct, we're about to go into an off week, and then we will be back the week after this is released with a new, less spooky, but equally as irrelevant podcast about arguments that no one cares about except for the four of us, and hopefully you, which is why you listen. As always, follow along with all of our arguments at Debate This Cast on all of the social medias, and a website that we have, the URL of which I do not remember. Andrew, help.
It's debatethiscast.com.
Great. It's just like all the other
things. If we have one thing, it is consistency.
Terrific.
I know that's tricky, but you can remember it by the exact name of the podcast you're hosting.
Perfect. Debatethiscast.com. Follow along with us there and on all the social medias. And with that being said, if you don't agree with our arguments, opinions, or thoughts thereof of creepy internet stories, I cordially invite you to come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.